Book one was about the bookstore abroad for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's experienced sales coach with a real life and practical experience to share across various industries, no other than Mr. Shad Tidler.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you having me on today.
Welcome, Mr. Shad, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. So Shad Tidler, here in the U.S. Personally, big traveler of the world. My wife's from the Philippines, so we traveled there quite a bit, and just other parts of the world. Lived in India, Hong Kong for a while, and had the benefit, personal, professional, getting to travel, various places, and then do triathlons and cycling races all throughout the country, and work out and stay fit. And outside of that is, as you can see from the website, is work with Lucian, where I've been here for 12 years as a sales and sales management, sales leadership consultant, trainer, and coach.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you. So today let's talk about the four hats of effective leaders. So the hat metaphor. Why hats? What does these metaphor capture about leadership that the other frameworks like roles, modes, or styles might miss?
Sure. So if you think of most companies, like even large companies, that leader, whether they're a owner of the company or president, CEO, vice president, manager, whatever it is, they're usually not just wearing one hat. When I say hat, it's a role, right? It's very rare today that it's just like, hey, this is my role and the only thing I do. But even within that role, like let's say they're a CEO of a company, there are these things that they have to do on a regular basis to be as an effective leader and manager of people as possible. And that's where the four hats concept, if you think of taking a hat off, it's like, hey, Daniel, I'm talking to you at this point. You bring up a challenge or problem you're having. I got to put on a certain hat to help you solve that problem. Hey, Daniel, later in the day, we're talking and you're behind on something. I got to switch to a different hat to help you work through and get to where you need to be and get in on progress. So that's where the hats concepts comes in, and the four hats are coaching, accountability, mentoring, and motivating, and then training. So if you think of any leader at different times within their day, their week, their month, they're flipping on those hats off and on. And the challenge is that a lot of leaders don't know when should I use which hat and what skills and tools do I need to be effective when using that hat.
Interesting hats, Mr. Shroud. So the foundational four. What is the selection process of these four specific hats? Were there contenders that did not make to the cut, or why did these four prove to be the most universal and essential?
Because they're the ones that are being used the most, really. And it all is driven by what problems or challenges are we helping our people with. So if you think of the hat of being that training is okay. I got new people or a new process or a new tool, and I got to train my people. So I got to help them with here's what this is, and here's why we're using it, and why it's important, and here's how to do it. And then also making sure on the back end, and this is, Dana, where a lot of times that gets missed, is not just saying, hey, did you get it? Do you understand? Where most people are going to say, yeah, because they conceptually got it, or they're like, I don't want to look silly or stupid, like I don't understand, or I'm going so fast, I just want to check it off and move on to the next thing. And leaders might miss things like, okay, let me confirm back, did that person really understand the concept and can they really apply it? So person, hey, please tell me like what it is that we're like this tool and why we're using it, and then how, like, show me how you can apply it, or in this situation how to apply it. Right. So it's the way we came up with the concept is around thinking of, in most leaders' days, what's the four things they're doing the most? And that goes back to is we're training people, we're coaching them, which means hey, they've been trained on something, now they're running into a problem. I need to ask questions and be like a doctor and diagnose what's really causing the problem, and then help ask questions to guide them to figure out the answer so they start to go, next time I run into this, I can do this. We're mentoring them, which means understanding their goals and motivations and where they want to get to and helping them along that path. Or, we're the last piece there is we're holding them accountable, which is going, hey, we've set these goals, we've set these metrics, these indicators, and these things we're going to track to help you get to your goals. And I got to help you make sure we stay on path and readjust when we're off.
Definitely readjust the universal versus the contextual, Mr. Shad. Are these four hats non negotiable for every leader in every context, or are some hats more prominent depending on the leader's level, industry, or organizational crisis?
Well, all four are non-negotiable in my experience. Like you've got to have them. But the whole key, Daniel, is like what you just said there is in what situation or what experience are you using the right hat for? So, for example, let's say you got one of your people and they're struggling to apply something or they're running into a problem with something. Well, what happens a lot of times is that leader may ask a couple questions and then they'll go, hey, it sounds like you don't understand the training we did on this. And let's go back to the training. Well, what if that's not the problem? What if it's the person understands the training, they're just having a hard time applying it in that particular situation or concept? Well, if that's the case, is like, no, I get the training and the basics. It's just this is a nuanced or different, or I'm not connecting the dots. As a leader, I got to flip on my coaching hat and go, okay, let me ask questions to really make sure I get to what is truly the problem thing they're struggling with and then help them with how to apply it, right? So if I went to my training hat, I'm missing the mark, and that person's going to walk away going, okay, yeah, I understand training, but that doesn't help here, right? Or I don't get it. If it's the person struggling, with like maybe it's the mindset behind it. It's like, no, I get the training and applying these situations, but my brain's telling me I can't do this or I shouldn't do this or I'm not allowed to in this situation. If that leader goes back to the training or the coaching and doesn't address the mindset, which is more the mentor hat and the motivations behind it, and help them adjust the mindset, they've solved essentially the wrong problem. And it would be like going to your doctor and the doctor doesn't ask a lot of questions and he goes, okay, I'm going to prescribe this. And you walk out going, I don't know if that's going to work, or I don't think that's going to work, because they didn't diagnose and make sure they're using the right hat for that situation.
On the hats themselves, Mr. Shad, the strategist hat. When wearing the strategist hat, is the primary output a plan or shared understanding on the landscape and game being played, or how do you know you're doing it effectively?
So if you think of strategies, that goes back to mentoring, which goes to goals, and that's part of that mentoring hat. It's like, okay, I've got to understand what are the goals, or make sure that we're aligned on what the goals are with the company, with the person, and that they're aligned on that, and also that it's communicated down, and then form a plan from it in order to be able to get them into action. Now, once we've got that, right, I put that mentor hat on, then becomes, okay, what training do they need in order to execute that plan? What are going to be the metrics and the measurements and the piece and the checks along the way, which is the accountability hat, to be on track for that plan? When they hit problems and challenges, what questions am I going to ask? What am I going to do to help coach them through it? So absolutely, like that goals, strategies, et cetera, has to start there, but it should go down to here's the action plan. And then now I want to use those other hats to help execute that plan and help them along the way when they run into any kind of roadblocks or challenges.
Mr. Shad, let's talk about the coach hat that has, let's say, coach hats just often gets conflated with being nice. How do you distinguish true coaching from simply managing performance or giving a supportive feedback?
Sure. So we got to first start with, and what's the goal of coaching? The goal of coaching is to shift behavior, right? And a lot of people confuse that with is the goal of coaching is for me to give them information. No, that's actually not the goal. That goes back to training. Training is about giving information and helping them understand basics and information. Coaching is about affecting behavioral change. So, what tends to happen is if I, as a leader, go, gosh, this is a situation, Daniel, I need to coach you. I don't know how you're going to take it. I'm afraid if I ask too many questions or challenge you a little bit, you might get upset. You're never going to be an effective coach because part of the coaching piece is you've got to be able to ask direct questions. And we call it dial back your what we call need for approval, which is it's more important they respect me and we have the conversations we need to. And even if they're tough, as long as they're helping them towards the goals or what they want to do. And that is more important than them liking me. Because if you think of some of the best coaches or mentors you've had, they probably have asked you tough questions or pushed back at times. And they didn't do it just to go, hey, I want to beat you up or I want to prove you're wrong or show I'm better. They did it because they went, Daniel, I know where you're wanting to go. I've got the experience to get there. And so, in order to help you, I'm going to have to ask some tough questions. I'm going to have to challenge you at times to help you be able to break through some of the comfort zones and some of the challenges to get better. Right. So, if that leader's got what we call need for approval, it's going to be really hard. And it's also going to be hard when it comes to accountability because it means you're going to have a hard time having those tough conversations when they're off track, when they're behind. And so part of this isn't just knowing here's the behavior and the tools to do it, but it's also having the right mindset supports that goes, it's okay to be having these conversations and to do these things as long as it's helping them get to the goals they're going after.
The operator had, Mr. Shad, in the age of empowerment, the operator had, well, focus on systems, execution, or results, can seem outdated the micromanaging. How does the effective leader wear this hat without disempowering the team?
I just did a webinar for an association yesterday, and we were talking about this taking how do you get your mission and vision and goals down to your people and then get them in action with it. And we talked about this piece of accountability, and I asked the question I asked the group was, when you hear the words accountability or your people, like think of your people in here, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And exactly what you said, Daniel, is micromanaging. Hey, they don't trust me. Hey, it's just another task I got to do. I don't understand why we're doing this. Why do we have to have these check-ins, etc.? And the thing I shared with the group, and I'll share here, is that the problem is that people don't understand, like I said, why they're doing it and how it helps them get to where they need to get to or they want to get to. A lot of times micromanagement is part of it is we got to trust our people. We got to go, hey, if I've set the goals and we've aligned on the goals with you and I've helped you set the plan and we've got the checkpoints along the way, as a leader, I got to step back and go, okay, go do the work and then we will review at the checkpoints and I've got to build enough trust that you come to me if there's challenges in between, right? If I don't have that trust, it's going to be hard to do. There's a great phrase out there that Steve Jobs said, the original founder of Apple, said is it makes no sense to hire great people and then tell them exactly how to do their job. Absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean you don't set goals and parameters and go, hey, we're going to make sure things are on progress. But once you do, is let them go do the work. But the big problem with accountability I see is that most of the times people go, I don't understand how this is helping me, which means I don't understand how this is helping me on progress to my goals. And so therefore it just seems like extra work or you don't trust me. So the very first thing is that leaders need to understand what are the goals, not only the business goals of their people, but their personal goals, and then help them lay out the plan and the path to get there, and then help them see that the checkpoints along the way, one-to-ones, right, and reviewing certain metrics and performance indicators, and those along the way are to help them make progress and get problems out of the way so they can achieve these goals they said are important.
Mr. Shad, the most neglected hat, in your observation, which hat do competent leaders most often overlook or underutilized, and what is the consequence of their team and organization?
Okay, I'm gonna actually give two, Dan, because it almost is two of these are almost equally as much neglected and as important. Number one is coaching. Number two is motivating, or that mentor hat. Um, Coaching, because most leaders think coaching is I'll just retrain you, or why should I have to do that? If you're really, if I've hired you, I shouldn't need to coach you. They don't understand the importance and the value of it, and they don't understand how to effectively do it. They don't have a model for it. Like we talked about, that need for approval gets in the way. There's other mindset things that get in the way, and so they're not able to effectively execute. Here's the thing: if you hire great people, they want to get better and be coached. And a lot of times when they leave, they may say it's for money or compensation or whatever. But a lot of, in my experience, is that most of the time they actually left like really good performers, left their former company or organization because the coaching and development wasn't there. They're like, I felt like I got as much as I could here. I'm not going to grow anymore. I'm not going to develop. People want to feel productive and they want to feel progress. They don't feel like there's tools there to help them, they'll leave. Right. So coaching's one, motivating's the other. And this is going back to the webinar I was talking about yesterday. Is one of the questions I asked, I said, how many of us know what the personal goals are of our people, their goals and motivations, and have had that conversation? And there were 70 some people in there, and I probably had about 10 reply. And even out of that 10, only a few were very specific. Most of the time we haven't had that conversation, know what really motivates our people or what they really want to do. Why should I have to motivate them? That's one thing that goes through leaders' heads. Number two, I don't even know what my own personal goals are as a leader, right? If I'm not doing it, why would I have that conversation with someone else? Number three, I don't know how to have that conversation. Nobody's ever had it with me. I've never been trained. I don't know how to, right? And so if that's missing, then people just see it's all about the company. And here's the thing: people work hardest for their reasons and their motivations, not the leaders. And so if you don't know what your people's goals and motivations are, and then help connect and go, hey, if we help you achieve these goals here with the company, that's going to get you and help you get to these things you're wanting. If you don't make that connection, help people, they're going to go, well, why are we doing this?
Mm, why we are doing this? So, Mr. Shad, on pitfalls and misconceptions. The impersonator risk. What does it look like when someone is mimicking the hat rather than authentically wearing it?
Mm-hmm. Um, a lot of times it's they're very surface level in their conversations and in the questions they ask. So, for example, the coaching hat. If I'm mimicking it, I may just go, well, hey, somebody comes to me and says, hey, I need help on something, or I see they have a problem with something. I may just ask, hey, well, Daniel, what's the problem? And then you give me a little bit of explanation, and then I go, let me tell you what I would do, or go do this, or let me take over. That tells me you're not actually using it and going deep enough, because you want to affect behavioral change. And what happens when you go, let me tell you what to do, or I would do this, or I'll take over and show you, all that does is create what we call learned helplessness, which means that person just knows next time I have a problem, I'll go to Daniel because he'll tell me what to do. He'll solve it. As we said, that the goal of the coaching hat is to affect behavioral change. Only change of behavior they made is that now I come to you and you'll take care of it for me. That's one way that I see. Another way with motivating is when I ask the question is, what goals, what are your people's personal goals? And leaders say things like, obviously it's money. Obviously it's this. When somebody preface something with obviously, that means they've never had the conversation with somebody. Because somebody that has had the conversation would go, I talked to them and here's what it is. Or I know because I've had this conversation. When it's obviously, it's I'm making an assumption based on what I think it is or how I'm motivated. Right? Those are the sorts of things when I see or hear those, that tells me they're, like you said, mimicking or just surface level versus actually using the tools effectively.
So, the burnout signal, Mr. Shad, is a leader burnout often a sign of being stuck wearing one of two hats to the exclusion of others, which is that overuse is most commonly linked to exhaustion.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's so much. the hats as it is the purpose behind it. So a lot of times when we have burnout, part of it's balance in our life of going, okay, am I not just making it all about here and balancing with other things that bring me energy, but the other part of it is, do I have purpose, right? Because like let's think of like when you've had a big goal or purpose in your life, you've gone above and beyond, and you've probably done things at other times that feel like burnout, right? Because you go, I'm so strongly driven and motivated towards this. Like I've got a sense of purpose, a sense of satisfaction. It's going to come from this, or it's coming from this, and that brings me energy. So I find most times when people are burnt out, whether it's a manager, a leader, or their people, it's I'm losing that focus on like what is the purpose here? What am I doing? How is this helping me? And the energy that brings. Now it could be within certain hats that they go, these are harder and take more energy, right? Like if I'm naturally the type of person that's very analytical and or very just high level goal driven, probably like sitting down talking about people's personal goals and motivations may not be very easy for me and take more energy. Doesn't mean I can't do it, but it just means that it's going to take more energy and effort in those times, and so I've got to balance that out. But going back to what I was saying is it's about the sense of purpose. When people start to get burnt out, it's a lot of times they're going, why am I doing this?
Why I'm doing this? Yes, that's a great question, Mr. Shad. And what are your short-term and long-term goals as a
Uh, Short term,
leader?
I've got two or three big goals for this year. $1 million in business here at Lucian because we sell and grow our business also, and that drives a lot of personal, family goals, financial goals, things my wife and I have. Number two is I've got some health goals. I'm 49, so I've got markers of what a healthy 49-year-old needs to be that I'm working towards, through exercise, through change of diet, through supplements, etc. And then third is I've got a couple of goals around my relationships, with my wife, my family, et cetera, strengthening those, being able to help them even more. That's short term. Long term, wife and I, I'm almost 50. By 65, we want to retire and travel the world. Just bought a place down in Florida. It's going to be a vacation home slash rental. She being from the Philippines, we take a look at, potentially buying a place there and having that as a place to jump to travel the rest of Asia. But really just, I'll still do a little bit of consulting work at that, but we want to have the flexibility to be able to travel all over the world and just enjoy those experiences.
Definitely travel the world. Good luck to your goals, Mr. Shad, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Biggest thing is, and kind of goes to is if I'm leading people, do I have a good sense of the goals and the vision of where I want to go, and have I communicated that down to my people and got them aligned and found people who are motivated behind it? I see too many leaders who they don't have any sense. We're just growing to grow. We're just going after things we don't know why, or they haven't gone out and aligned with their people and found people that are aligned with it, and so the culture suffers.
Well, thank you for that advice, Mr. Shad. And can you delegate a hat? For instance, can a COO wear the primary operator hats?
Hmm.
So as the CEO can focus on strategies and innovator, what are the risks of fully handling off hat?
Um, so each leader has those four hats in some function. Now, the one that you can truly, or a couple that you can truly hand off, probably training, depending on your role. But a lot of times, training is a great hat to hand off and go, hey, these people will specialize in training our folks in that. Um, Mentoring can be handed off because someone might be a better mentor for a certain thing for someone. So, for example, um, I look at here at Lucian, there's certain people that mentor me, certain leaders that mentor me in my business, my growth here for different things. Brian, who's one of our coaches here, he's really good at client strategy and solutions. So he's my mentor for that. Aaron's really good at the goals and the metrics and the accountability. He's my mentor for that. Paul, our former owner, he's extremely good at the mindset and the beliefs and attitude and shifting that. I go to him for that. So you can hand off mentoring to somebody that's going to be better, but it also, with that, it means you can still help manage the process. So I might hand off mentoring you, Daniel, but I still want to make sure, is that person you're mentoring for that thing, are they doing and getting the things they need and growing in that area? So I might still manage the process, but you may be the specialist there.
The specialist for sure. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Shad, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in its third season, and of course my book 101 review in its sixth season as well, and of course my let's say comedy 101 in its third season, and my food 101 in sixth season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101, review music 101, a fourth season, science 101, sex 101 in its third season, and my baby podcast trivia 101, Law 101, Mental Health 101, Motivation 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and of course, my book 101 review. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Shad, tell us which of the four hats was the hardest for you to learn to wear effectively, and what was the breakthrough moment or lesson that made it click?
For me, it was coaching because I was so used to when I came here is training people and imparting information, and I had to learn the difference between that and coaching. And going, okay, coaching is about affecting behavioral change and asking questions to diagnose, and then asking questions to get them, that person, to understand, see what that solution is, come up with it, grasp it, and then make the change. That was a big shift for me in my coaching here. It probably took a couple of years till I started to get more effective at it. And the shift was that I just found that I was working with companies, and we would get change, but the leaders weren't going as deep enough to make change. Their people weren't. And so the more I worked on that piece, the more and really focused on, really getting into the, like, what is the true problem and challenge, right? And getting down to that, and then asking them and getting them to think and apply some of the tools. The more effective I've been at that and helping them, the more effective I've seen the growth with my clients.
Well, Mr. Shad, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Sure. Like I said, if you want to learn more or reach out and discuss more, if you see our website here, that little button at the top that says Talk to a Coach, click on that, and you can drop down, select me, and it sends me a form or an email that reach out to you and have contact and talk from there.
Definitely. And people, let's support Mr. Shad Tidler, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering coaching will rise. I have a new podcast, Mr. Shad, Coaching 101. I'm inviting you to be part of it. And one more question: can you please, or yes, can you please recommend a book of books that influence your journey?
Sure. Yeah. And I was thinking about this coming into it, Daniel. One book, and I keep coming back to it. Two that I would recommend. Number one, Obstacles the Way by Ryan Holiday. It's all about how do you look at challenges and obstacles, whether they're things you create in your life or, are just kind of happen to you, and how do you approach and work through those to have, use them to your advantage. And then the other one that I'm listening to again right now is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And that's all about when you're negotiating with people, how do you effectively negotiate?
Mr. Shad, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, Daniel. Thanks for having me on.
More to come, people. See you soon.